There are 40 final forms, and that time I got reincarnated as a slime, ranked from weakest evolution to the strongest being in the entire series. Let's start with Tempest's biggest underdog, Gupta. Most people remember him as Tempest's comic relief, but by the end of the series he becomes far stronger than anyone expected. After being named by Rimuru, Gupta evolves into a hobgoblin and eventually becomes captain of the Goblin Riders. But Gupta's strongest power doesn't actually belong to Gupta. His final form is Demon Wolf Fusion. And despite an EP of only 20,000, that's nowhere near the full story. Through unification with Ranga, Gupta temporarily wields Hastur, Lord of Starwind, letting him fight with the power far beyond what his own EP suggests. It's one of the biggest temporary power boosts on the entire list. Not bad for the guy everyone underestimated, but if Gupta borrowed his greatest power, the next character is the one who actually owns it. That is Wolf, Ranga, the real source of Gupta's greatest power. Ranga evolves from a dire wolf into a Tempest wolf, then a Tempest Star Wolf, before finally reaching his peak as the Divine Wolf, also known as the Wind Soul Wolf. And unlike Gupta, this ultimate skill is truly his. My goodness, there were so many names for him. With an EP of 4,340,000, Ranga becomes one of Rimuru's 12 Guardian Lords. He awakens Hastur, Lord of Starwind, granting him mastery over storms, shadows, and incredible speed. He can also use shadow motion infused with Gupta through unification, creating one of Tempest's deadliest battle combinations. Next up is Gabiru. From an overconfident lizard man everyone laughed at, to one of Tempest's most respected warriors. Gabiru's evolution is one of the series' biggest surprises. He begins as a lizard man before evolving into a dragonute, eventually reaching his peak as the true dragonute, also known as the Water Soul Dragon. But Gabiru's greatest transformation wasn't just becoming stronger, it was finally becoming the leader everyone believed he could be. After receiving a portion of Rimuru's soul during the Harvest Festival, he awakens an entirely new level of power. With an EP of 1,263,000, he becomes one of the 12 Guardian Lords and commander of the Hiryu. His ultimate gift, Moodmaker, Lord of Psychology, grants powerful support abilities alongside spatial manipulation, multi-layer barriers, and even limited fate manipulation. Combined with his dragon wings, natural armor, and aerial combat skills, Gabiru becomes almost unrecognizable from the reckless lizard man we first met. The same guy who once overestimated himself now stands among Tempest's elite. And the next Guardian Lord proves that defense can be just as terrifying as destruction. Next is Geld. Born as the son of the original Orc Lord, Geld begins as a High Orc. After his father's defeat, he and the remaining Orcs join Tempest, where Rimuru gives him the name Geld to honor the past rather than erase it. Who would have guessed the son of Tempest's greatest enemy would become his greatest protector? His final form is the Divine Boar, with an EP of 2,378,000. As one of the 12 Guardian Lords and commander of Tempest's second core, Geld becomes the kingdom's ultimate defensive commander. His ultimate gift, Beelzebub, Lord of Gourmet, turns him into an almost immovable fortress through abilities like Predation, Corrosion, Iron Wall, Ultra Speed Regeneration, and Spatial Manipulation. Geld's strength isn't about overwhelming enemies, it's about being the wall that nobody can break. But the next character takes a completely different path, turning death itself into a weapon. Let's talk about Adelman. Once a powerful holy priest, Adelman begins as an enlightened human before meeting a fate, unlike almost anyone else on this list. After dying in battle, Gadra's corrupted reincarnation spell revives him as a white, instead of bringing him back as a human. He later evolves into a white knight, before finally reaching his strongest form. Most characters get stronger by evolving. Adelman had to die first. His final form is the Dead Spirit, Light Spirit Skeleton, with an EP of 877,000. After joining Rimuru, Adelman becomes the Gehenna Lord, one of Tempest's 12 Guardian Lords and Guardian of the Labyrinth. His ultimate gift, Necronomicon, lets him command vast undead armies while combining holy magic and necromancy through abilities like Holy Demonic Reversal and Domination of the Dead. A warrior who once fought against darkness eventually becomes one of Tempest's greatest undead commanders. And the next character's evolution is just as surprising. Next is Shuna. Tempest's kindest executive eventually becomes one of its most powerful mages. She evolves from an ogre into a Kijin before reaching her final form as an Oni after receiving Rimuru's blessing. Don't let Shuna's calm personality fool you. She's hiding an ultimate skill that most executives would envy. Known as the Oni Princess and Tempest's Oracle, Shuna becomes one of the nation's most gifted magic users. Her final form is Oni, and her ultimate skill, Yaoyurozu, Shrine Maiden of Guidance, grants mastery over magic analysis, multi-layer barriers in both spiritual and holy magic. While other executives became famous for their destructive power, Shuna proves that intelligence and kindness can be just as valuable. While Shuna mastered magic, Hakuru spent centuries perfecting a single sword. He evolves from an ogre to a Kijin, before reaching his strongest known form, an Oni. But Hakuru's greatest weapon isn't a powerful ultimate skill, it's the thousands of years of experience behind every single sword strike. His final form is Oni, but with an EP of only 60,000, he has one of the lowest energy parameters among Tempest's executives. Even so, he becomes Tempest's chief sword instructor and one of its greatest swordsmen. Rather than relying on an ultimate skill, Hakuru defeats opponents far stronger than himself through thought acceleration and his mastery of the Heisei-style sword arts. Hakuru proves that raw power isn't everything. Sometimes the most dangerous fighter is the one who spent centuries perfecting a single blade. While Hakuru mastered the battlefield, Soi mastered the shadows. He evolves from an ogre into a Kijin before reaching his strongest form, the Divine Oni, also known as the Darkness Soul Oni. For Rimuru, Soi's evolution wasn't about becoming the strongest warrior, it's about becoming the perfect spy. With an EP of 1,281,000, Soi becomes Rimuru's most trusted spy and the leader of the Kurayami. His final form is the Divine Oni, and his ultimate gift, Tsukuyomi, Lord of Moonshade, grants him everything an assassin could ask for: shadow manipulation, instant spatial movement, and deadly assassination techniques. Soi doesn't overpower his enemies, he makes sure they never realize he was there. Next is Apito, from a wounded Queen Wasp rescued by Rimuru to one of the Tempest's strongest dungeon guardians. Apito has one of the most remarkable insect evolutions in the series. She evolves from a Queen Wasp into an Insectar, then a Star Wasp, before finally reaching her peak as a Divine Wasp. Rimuru didn't just save Apito's life, he unlocked a future no ordinary monster could ever reach. With an EP of 1,737,000, Apito becomes the guardian of the 80th floor and one of the 10 dungeon marvels. Her ultimate gift, Proserpina, Queen Worship, grants incredible speed, regeneration, mastery of aerial combat, and even control over insect evolution. Apito proves that in Tempest, even the smallest monsters can grow into legends. Next is Kumara. Originally controlled by Clayman, Kumara begins as a small 3-tailed fox. After being named by Rimuru, she eventually evolves into a 9-tailed divine fox, also known as the Earth Soul Beast. But Kumara's biggest upgrade wasn't just gaining more tails, it was finally gaining the freedom to choose her own path. After being freed by Rimuru, Kumara becomes the guardian of the 90th floor and leader of the 8 legions. Her final form is the Divine Fox with an EP of 1.9 million. Her ultimate gift, Bahamut, Lord of Mythical Beasts, grants complete mastery over her 9-tailed beast powers while strengthening every creature under her command. Kumara didn't just gain more tails, she finally gained a future of her own. Up next is Dino. Most people know him as the demon lord who would rather sleep than fight. But that lazy attitude hides a terrifying truth. Dino begins as a seraph, one of Veldanava's 7 angels of origin, before falling from grace and eventually reaching his peak as a true demon lord. But Dino's biggest secret is that the weakest looking demon lord might be hiding a power that rivals the strongest. His final form is unlocked through apotheosis, when he finally removes the limits he's placed on his power. In his everyday state, Dino's EP sits around 2.26 million. But that's only because most of his true power remains sealed until apotheosis is activated. As one of the oldest beings in existence and the greatest swordsman of his era, Dino is already terrifying. His ultimate skill, Astaroth, Lord of Fallen, fuses the powers of Astarte and Belphegor, giving him mastery over creation, destruction, and mind domination. The sleepy demon lord act was convincing, maybe a little too convincing, but the next character's evolution comes from someone who was never afraid to fight. That is Benimaru. From the very beginning, Benimaru didn't just follow Rimuru, he grew alongside him. Starting as an ogre, he evolves into a Kijin after receiving Rimuru's name, then into an Oni after Rimuru awakens as a demon lord, before finally reaching his peak as the Divine Oni, also known as the Flame Dragon Oni. With every evolution, Benimaru wasn't just becoming stronger, he was slowly becoming the greatest commander the world has ever seen. His final form is the Divine Oni with an EP exceeding 40 million. As Rimuru's first military commander, Benimaru leads the Big Four, commands Tempest's army, and stands among Rimuru's 3 strongest subordinates. His ultimate skill, Amaterasu, Lord of Shimmering Flame, combines overwhelming flame manipulation with masterful swordsmanship, making him one of the deadliest warriors alive. From an exiled ogre prince to one of Tempest's greatest commanders, few evolutions on this list are as complete as Benimaru's. Next is Ultima. Originally, the primordial violet, Ultima evolves from an Archdaemon into a Daemon Lord before reaching her peak as a Devil Lord after receiving a name and physical body from Rimuru. Some people fight to win. Ultima fights because she genuinely enjoys making things miserable for her enemies. Her final form is the Devil Lord with an EP of 2.66 million, making her one of Rimuru's 12 Guardian Lords. Her ultimate skill, Samael, Lord of Deathly Poison, grants mastery over deadly poisons, curses, soul manipulation, and devastating magic, making her one of Tempest's most dangerous demons. If Benimaru wins through leadership, Ultima wins by making sure there's nobody left to argue with. And if Ultima's terrifying, Carrera somehow manages to be even worse. Originally the primordial yellow, Carrera evolves from an Archdaemon into a Daemon Lord before reaching her peak as a Devil Lord, after receiving a name and physical body from Rimuru. Her final form is the Devil Lord with an EP of 7 million. As one of the 3 Devil Girls and one of Rimuru's 12 Guardian Lords, she becomes one of Rimuru's greatest weapons. Unlike most characters, Carrera possesses 2 ultimate skills, Sandalphon, Lord of Judgment, and Abaddon, Lord of Destruction, allowing her to unleash devastating nuclear magic and overwhelming destructive power. Even Demon Lords think twice before provoking Carrera. As compared to the monsters waiting above her, we're only getting started. Because next up is the woman who proved humanity could stand alongside monsters, Hinata Sakaguchi. She begins as an ordinary human before evolving into an incomplete saint, and eventually reaching her strongest form as a divine human, also known as the Holy Spirit of Light. Her final form is a divine human with an EP of around 1 million in her saint state. As a right hand of God, a true saint and ultimately a true chosen hero, she leads the 10 great saints. Her ultimate skill, Fortuna, Lord of Odds, grants future precognition far beyond ordinary battle prediction. Combined with her mastery of holy magic, spirit magic, and swordsmanship, it makes her one of humanity's greatest fighters. Hinata never needed to become a monster, she became the human every monster had to respect. Most heroes defeat Demon Lords. Leon Cromwell became one. Leon begins as a human before forming a contract with an elemental of light to become a chosen hero. After defeating the Demon Lord Kazalim, Leon claims the title himself, eventually reaching his strongest form as a demonoid. His final form is a demonoid with an EP of estimated exceeding 5 million. As a platinum devil and ruler of El Dorado, he stands among the Octagram's strongest members. His ultimate skill evolves from Metatron, Lord of Purity, into Surya, Lord of Brilliance, combining devastating light manipulation with spirit magic and master swordsmanship. Few characters blur the line between hero and demon quite like Leon Cromwell. Next is the ruler who spent centuries hiding her true identity, Luminous Twilight Valentine. To the world, she was simply Luminous Valentine. In reality, she was both, the divine ancestor of the vampire race and a true demon lord. Her final form is a true demon lord with an estimated EP exceeding 20 million. She rules both the holy empire of Lubelius and the entire vampire race while holding a seat among the Octagram. Her ultimate skill evolves from Asmodeus, Lord of Lust, into Ahura Mazda, Lord of Radiance, granting her supreme holy magic and absolute authority over vampires. For centuries, humanity worshipped her without even realizing they were following a demon lord. Now, if Luminous dominates through authority, Dagruel dominates through overwhelming force. Originally, Dagruel was 1/3 of the ancient giant Ashura. After reuniting with his brothers, Glassard and Ven, the 3 became whole once again, restoring the complete Ashura, a 3-headed, 6-armed giant powerful enough to rival a true dragon. Imagine being so absurdly strong you don't even need an ultimate skill to rank this high. His final form Ashura is known as the Trinity, with an EP of 120 million. As ruler of the giant race and a member of the Octagram, Dagruel stands among the world's absolute strongest beings. Rather than relying on ultimate skill, Ashura's overwhelming physical power is backed by natural, ultimate level abilities like all things destruction, magic nullification, and near total defense, allowing him to battle true dragons head on. When brute force alone can rival a true dragon, you don't need an ultimate skill to inspire fear. Speaking of fear comes Shion, the warrior whose raw strength was always greater than her technique. She evolves from an ogre to a Kijin after being named by Rimuru, then into an Oni before finally reaching her peak as a war spirit Oni after awakening her ultimate skill. But Shion's greatest evolution wasn't becoming stronger. It was finally gaining an ultimate skill worthy of her monstrous strength. Her final form is the war spirit Oni. Although her final EP has never been officially revealed, her last confirmed value was 4.2 million before awakening Susanoo. As one of the big 4, a 12 Guardian Lord, and commander of the Yomigiri, Shion becomes one of Tempest's strongest frontline warriors. Her ultimate skill, Susanoo, Lord of Tyranny, lets her turn an opponent's own strength against them, giving her overwhelming superiority in close combat. Raw strength made Shion terrifying. Susanoo makes her unstoppable. Next is Yuki Kagurazaka. Unlike almost everyone on this list, Yuki never evolves into another race. He remains a human otherworlder, growing stronger through intelligence, experience, and some of the most dangerous abilities in the series. While the others honed their strength, Yuki honed his deception. His peak form is an awakened saint-level human otherworlder with an estimated EP just under 2 million. As Grandmaster of the Free Guild and founder of Cerberus, Yuki becomes one of the world's greatest masterminds. His ultimate skill, Mammon, Lord of Greed, combined with Melchizedek, Lord of Dominion, and his infamous anti-skill lets him challenge opponents who should completely outclass him. Yuki proves that the most dangerous weapon in Tensura isn't always overwhelming power. Sometimes it's the person pulling the strings. While Yuki outplays his enemies, Testarossa simply erases them. Originally, the primordial white Testarossa evolves from Archdaemon into a Daemon Lord before reaching her peak as a Devil Lord, after receiving Rimuru's name. Her final form is the Devil Lord with an EP of 3.333 million. As one of Rimuru's 12 Guardian Lords, she also oversees Tempest's foreign affairs. Her ultimate skill, Belial, Lord of Underworld, grants dominion over death itself through Nihilistic World, making her one of the most terrifying demons. Ancient experience, terrifying magic, and unmatched political cunning make Testarossa one of Rimuru's most valuable and dangerous subordinates. Next is Vega, the one character whose evolution never really stops. He begins as a human before Yuki transforms him into a demonoid. Later, he acquires an imitation slime body that mimics Rimuru's abilities. The real nightmare about Vega isn't his strength, it's that every enemy he beats becomes food for his next evolution. His peak form is a demonoid with an imitation slime body with an estimated EP of 17 million. He later becomes one of Michael's 7 heavenly generals. His ultimate skill, Azidahaka, Lord of Evil Dragons combined with multiple weapons, Lord of Martial Creation, lets him consume stronger opponents, steal their abilities, and continue evolving without end. For Vega, every victory is just another evolution waiting to happen. And the next character doesn't rely on endless evolution, because he was already one of Veldonava's original creations, Zalario. Originally created as one of the Angels of Origin, Zalario eventually transforms into a phantom, also known as Mystic Angel, after countless years in the Otherworld. He later rises to become the leader of Feldway's 3 Mystic Admirals. Some characters become legends through evolution. Zalario started as one. In his peak form as Phantom, Zalario has an estimated EP exceeding 20 million, and possesses billions of years combat experience as one of Feldway's strongest commanders. His ultimate skill, Mati, Lord of Retribution, evolved from Israfel, Lord of Judgment, grants absolute control over judgment, spatial domination, and devastating angelic combat. Some warriors grow stronger with time. Zalario simply had billions of years to perfect power he already possessed. Not every Angel of Origin stayed on the same side, and Obera is proof of that. Like Zalario, Obera was created as one of Veldonava's Angels of Origin before transforming into a phantom, also known as Mystic Angel, after countless years in the Otherworld. In her peak form as a phantom, Obera has an estimated EP exceeding 20 million. Once one of Feldway's most powerful commanders, she abandons his side and becomes one of Milim's Big Four. Her ultimate skill, Azrael, Lord of Salvation, perfectly complements her masterful swordsmanship, leadership, and immense angelic authority, making her one of Milim's most trusted commanders. Changing sides didn't make Obera weaker. It gave one of the world's strongest demon lords another monster to rely on. Next is Jahil, one of the greatest sorcerers the world has ever seen. He begins as a high human before becoming a spiritual life form. Later, Feldway rebirths him as a phantom, and he ultimately reaches his strongest form by taking over Vega's body. Imagine the world's most brilliant sorcerer, now fused with the body of its fastest evolving monster. In his peak form, Jahil inhabits Vega's body as a phantom, with an estimated EP exceeding 200 million. Known as the greatest sorcerer emperor and the flame emperor, he combines ancient magical knowledge with overwhelming physical power. His ultimate enchantment, Agni, Lord of Blaze, combined with his unmatched sorcery and spiritual techniques, briefly places him among the strongest beings in the entire series. On his own, Jahil was a legendary sorcerer. Inside Vega's body, he became something far more terrifying. Now we arrive at the king of all insectars, Zelenus. He evolves from an insectoid into the divine insect, becoming the supreme ruler of the insect race and the father of Zygion. If you thought the insects in Tempest were dangerous, you haven't met the one every other insect answers to. In his peak form as a divine insect, Zelenus has an estimated EP of around 114 million. As the insect lord, Zelenus commands the 12 insect generals before eventually siding with Michael during the final war. His ultimate skill, Sephiroth, Lord of Life, grants mastery over life force, evolution, regeneration, and absolute authority over the entire insect race. True dragon class power is terrifying on its own, but it's even worse when an entire race follows your every command. Up next is Zygion. What began as a wounded beetle rescued by Rimuru would eventually become one of his strongest subordinates. He evolves into an insectar, then a divine insect, before ultimately inheriting Zelenus' power and surpassing every other member of his race. Zygion didn't just catch up to the king of insectars, he surpassed him. In his peak form as a divine insect, Zygion has an estimated EP of around 68 million. As one of the 12 Guardian Lords, and one of Rimuru's 3 strongest subordinates, he becomes the Labyrinth's greatest guardian. His ultimate skill, Mephisto, Lord of Fantasy, grants unrivaled illusion abilities, complete battlefield control, overwhelming combat power, and near-perfect defense. Rimuru didn't just save Zygion's life, he unknowingly created the strongest insectar in history. In Tensura, before demon lords ruled the world, there was Rudra. He begins as a high human, awakens as the world's first chosen hero, founds the Eastern Empire, and ultimately reaches his peak as a complete saint, Veldonava's greatest disciple. But the strongest hero in history would eventually lose the only battle nobody expected, the battle for control of his own body. As a complete saint, Rudra stood on equal footing with Gaia Crimson for over 2,000 years, despite never having an officially revealed EP. His ultimate skill, Michael, Lord of Justice, grants absolute authority over angelic ultimate skills, powerful domination abilities, and control over the angelic system itself. Rudra built one of history's greatest empires, but the power that made him legendary would eventually become his greatest tragedy. And that tragedy has a name, Michael. Michael begins as a sentient will within Rudra's ultimate skill before evolving into an independent Manas after receiving a name from Feldaway. He eventually takes complete control of Rudra's body, becoming the supreme leader of the army of justice. Imagine awakening the perfect power only for that power to eventually replace you. Sounds like AI. In his peak form as Manas possessing Rudra's body, Michael has an estimated EP of around 100 million. As the supreme leader of the army of justice, he orchestrates the final war to revive Veldonava. His ultimate skill, Michael, Lord of Justice, grants complete control over angelic ultimate skills, parallel control, and supreme authority over the angelic system. Michael wasn't just another villain, he was a power that outgrew the person who awakened it. And now we enter the realm of true dragons. Next on the list is Velgrynd. Unlike most characters here, she never needed to evolve into another race. She was born a true dragon, known as the Scorched Dragon, and remained one of the strongest beings in existence from the very beginning. Most people unlock true dragon power after 1,000 missions. Velgrynd got it as a default setting. Her natural form as a true dragon, Velgrynd's EP, is around 74 million. She remains one of the most complete and powerful beings in existence throughout the story, playing a key role in the final battle alongside the other true dragons. Her ultimate skill, Chituga, Lord of Flame Gods, evolved from Rego, Lord of Charity, after it merged with the remnants of Uriel, grants complete control over acceleration, scorching flames, dimensional travel, and devastating dragon-class firepower. And finally, the storm dragon himself, Reincarnated Tempest. Originally sealed within unlimited imprisonment, Veldora gains the surname Tempest from Rimuru, transforming from an unpredictable force of nature into one of his greatest allies. Most dragons stop growing after a few centuries. Veldora's been grinding for millennia and still hits the gym. In his natural form as a true dragon, Veldora has an estimated EP of around 88 million. As Tempest's guardian deity, he stands among the strongest beings in the world. His ultimate skill, Nyarlathotep, I don't even know how to say that, Lord of Chaos, grants overwhelming storm manipulation, chaotic energy control, unparalleled analysis, and probability calculation. The Storm Dragon has never stopped being chaotic. He just found a reason to fight for someone else. Chloe Auber, the strongest chosen hero in history. After countless time loops and unimaginable sacrifices, she awakens as a divine human and becomes the first person to ever wield 2 hero eggs. But Chloe didn't just save history, she became one of the reasons history exists the way it does. Across countless timelines, Chloe carries memories of worlds that no longer exist. Those endless loops eventually give birth to Chronoa, a second Manas born from Chloe's accumulated despair. Together they become the legendary hero who seals Veldora centuries before Rimuru's journey even begins, unknowingly setting the stage for everything that follows. In her peak form as a divine human, Chloe stands among the strongest beings in the entire series. Although her EP has never been officially revealed, her power is described as surpassing almost everyone else. Her ultimate skill, Yog Sothoth, God of Space-Time, grants control over time travel, time stop, fate itself, and even life and death. Very few characters shape history through sheer strength. Chloe rewrote the very rules of history. Standing even higher is the eldest surviving true dragon, Velzard. Unlike most characters on this list, she never needed an evolution to become feared. From the very beginning, she existed as the embodiment of absolute ice and deceleration, earning titles like the Frost Dragon, the Ice Princess, and the Goddess of Disaster. If Veldora represents chaos, Velzard represents the terrifying calm that freezes it. For thousands of years, she has stood among the world's absolute strongest beings, serving as Gaia Crimson's closest ally while maintaining the balance of power between the greatest forces in existence. Even other true dragons treat her with caution, because once Velzard decides to fight seriously, almost nothing can escape her control. In her natural form as a true dragon, Velzard's LP is estimated at over 80 million. Her final ultimate skill is Tulhu, Lord of Divine Ice, the fused evolution of her 2 earlier ultimate skills. Gabriel, Lord of Patience, Absolute Defense through Fixation, and Leviathan, Lord of Envy, Power Absorption and Degradation. Carrying the inherited essence of both, Tulhu grants her absolute mastery over ice and time itself, and deceleration, allowing her to stop time outright along with overwhelming defensive and offensive power capable of freezing an entire battlefield in an instant. Oh, next is my most awaited, Diablo. Long before Rimuru ever met him, he was already feared throughout existence as Noir, the Primordial Black, one of the original demons born at the dawn of creation. Unlike most Primordials, Diablo spent ages wandering simply because nothing could keep his interest for long. His greatest weapon isn't his ultimate skill, it's that he's already thought 10 moves ahead before the battle even begins. After reaching his peak as a Devil Lord, Diablo forms the Black Numbers and becomes Rimuru's most loyal subordinate. Absolute loyalty doesn't make him weaker, it simply gives one of the smartest beings in existence, someone worth fighting for. In his peak form as Devil Lord, Diablo has an estimated EP of around 6.66 million. His ultimate skill, Azazel, Lord of Temptation, grants overwhelming domination, manipulation, and immense demonic power. Combined with billions of years of combat experience, flawless instincts, and an almost unmatched ability to read his opponents, Diablo routinely defeats enemies whose energy parameters far exceed his own. And now we arrive at one of the most terrifying masterminds in Tensura, Feldway. Feldway isn't just another angel of origin, he is Veldonava's first and strongest created, to stand above all others. For most of the story, Feldway never even fights with his real body. His surrogate body is already powerful enough. The scariest part about Feldway wasn't his raw power, it was knowing he spent most of his story holding back. After Michael's defeat, Feldway finally awakens his true body, reaching his peak as a fully awakened angel of origin. Even Diablo admits Feldway's true combat ability surpasses Guy Crimson's. In this form, Feldway has an estimated EP exceeding 133 million. After absorbing the mana's Michael, he inherits Michael, Lord of Justice, countless copied ultimate skills, and even dragon factors of Velgrynd and Velzard, pushing his power to another level. With Veldonava's blessing, multiple ultimate skills, true dragon factors, and billions of years of experience, Feldway becomes one of the few things capable of bringing the entire worlds to its knees, alone. And finally, we reach the original Demon Lord himself, Guy Crimson. Before the Octagram existed and before most civilizations had even been built, Guy was already standing at the very top. Born as the Primordial Red, Guy becomes the first true Demon Lord after a world-shaking awakening that changes Tensura's history forever. Recognizing his unmatched strength, Veldonava personally entrusts him with the role of mediator, ensuring that someone powerful enough always exists to maintain the balance of the world. Every monster we've ranked so far becomes a legend over time. Guy has been the standard every legend is measured against. For nearly 2,000 years, Guy wages an endless rivalry with Rudra, a conflict that eventually leads to the creation of the Demon Lord Council, later known as the Octagram. Across countless battles, neither side never truly surpasses the other, cementing Guy's reputation as one of history's greatest fighters. In his peak form as a true Demon Lord, Guy Crimson has an estimated EP of around 40 million. His ultimate skill, Nodens, God of Abyss, grants overwhelming demonic power and reality-defying abilities capable of matching even the strongest true dragons. Long before anyone dreamed of surpassing Guy, they were simply trying to survive him. Now we arrive at the only dragonoid in existence, a being that even the strongest in the world refuses to challenge. Milim Nava was born as a daughter of Veldonava and Lucia, making her a one-of-a-kind existence from the moment she entered the world. But everything changes after the death of her beloved dragon companion. Consumed by grief and rage, Milim's awakening unleashes a legendary massacre that shakes the entire world and establishes her as one of the earliest true demon lords. She later joins Guy Crimson and Ramiris to found the Octagram, becoming one of the 3 demon lords who maintained the world's balance for thousands of years. Despite her playful personality, nearly every major power treats her with extreme caution, because they know what happens when she stops holding back. In her strongest state, the Stampede state, Milim has an estimated EP exceeding 100 billion, placing her among the strongest beings. Her ultimate skill, Satanael, Lord of Wrath, powers the magical breeder reactor, allowing her strength to continually increase through accumulated battle rage. The longer the battle lasts, the stronger Milim becomes. And now the next being isn't just another monster. She's the greatest calamity the Tensura universe has ever witnessed. The calamity is Ivarage. She wasn't even born as an ordinary life form. She comes into existence as a sentient other self created when Veldonava abandons his omnipotence to create the cardinal world. Without purpose or reason, she exists only as an endlessly growing force of destruction. For ages, Ivarage rampages across existence, battling the 7 angels of origin and even Guy Crimson before ultimately being sealed away, because destroying her proves nearly impossible. But everything changes once a mindless catastrophe finally gains something far more dangerous: intelligence. After awakening her own will, Ivarage absorbs the revived Lucia, inheriting Raphael, Lord of Knowledge. She later consumes Veldonava himself, abandoning the name Ivarage and taking the name Luvelge. with her sights set on destroying the entire multiverse. In her final form as Luvelge, her energy parameter surpasses 2 trillion, the highest confirmed EP ever recorded in the series, by an unbelievable margin. Rather than relying on brute force alone, Luvelge combines overwhelming destructive power with Raphael's flawless analytical abilities. The greatest disaster in existence didn't become stronger because she gained more power. She became stronger because she finally learned how to use it. In Tensura, before there were heroes, demon lords, or even the world itself, there was only one being, Nava. At his absolute peak, Nava wasn't simply the strongest being in Tensura. He was its omniscient, omnipotent, created god known as the Star King Dragon. As the very first true dragon, he existed before creation itself and stood as the origin of nearly everything that would follow. Using Nihility Collapse, Nava created countless parallel worlds, the 7 Angels of Origin, and even Twilight Valentine, the progenitor of humanity and the vampire race. But despite possessing limitless power, Nava desired something greater, a world capable of growing on its own rather than remaining a perfect, unchanging creation. To achieve that, he performed the divine act known as Beginning Eden, creating the cardinal world itself. The price was everything. By creating a world capable of growth, Nava willingly surrendered Nihility Collapse, along with his omniscience and omnipotence, descending into his own creation as a far weaker being. Each incarnation grew weaker until he eventually lived as a mortal beside Lucia, and became the father of Milim Nava. The greatest sacrifice in Tensura wasn't made by its weakest hero, it was made by its strongest god. At his true peak, Nava's power wasn't something that could be measured by energy parameters. It existed beyond any scale, making him the unquestioned origin of Tensura's entire cosmology. And now the final spot doesn't belong to the one who created the world, it belongs to the one who inherited its future. Rimuru Tempest. What started as an ordinary salaryman from Japan ends with the birth of one of the greatest beings in existence. Starting life as an ordinary slime, Rimuru evolved into a demon slime before eventually reaching the ultimate slime. A true dragon class existence who stands alongside the true dragons despite not formally being one. By the end of the series, Rimuru's energy parameter exceeds 251 million. More importantly, his soul becomes perfectly synchronized with Shion, allowing every one of his abilities to operate at maximum efficiency. His power revolves around 2 supreme ultimate skills, Azathoth, God of the Void, and Shub-Niggurath, Lord of Harvest. Within Azathoth lies Turn Null, the same primordial Nihility Collapse once exclusive to Nava himself. Combined with imaginary space, Rimuru can endlessly create, duplicate, analyze, and store abilities while freely manifesting both Veldora and Velgrynd as independent bodies. His greatest achievement comes in the final battle against Luvelge, the being formerly known as Ivarge. Rather than simply defeating the greatest calamity in existence, Rimuru devours Luvelge completely and seals her forever inside imaginary space, ending the greatest threat Tensura had ever known. While Nava created a world capable of growth, Rimuru became the proof that his dream had succeeded. Rimuru doesn't become number 1 because he has the highest energy parameter. He becomes number 1 because he surpasses the very limits of the world Nava created.